You are not a random piece drifting through chaos. You are a precise note in a divine symphony where every drumbeat, every breath, every fall of yours has been notated beforehand. There is an invisible blueprint that has woven you into this universe like a thread of gold. Others may not see it, but heaven does. You didn't enter this room by accident to skim another message. This is your divine appointment. For a long time, through nights you couldn't tell anyone about, through mornings where you wore a smile like a mask, through conversations where your heart quietly groaned, a steady hand was watching. The extended silence was not abandonment, it was a master's pause before the final touch on the canvas of destiny. And here, right now, grace steps in, not with noise, but with authority, not with anger, but with compassion, not with reasoning, but with power. If you have lived with silent battles, if you have been exhausted from acting strong, when there was nothing left to hold on to, if you have pressed your hand to your chest to keep your heart from breaking, listen closely, heaven is moving. The decree has been issued. Divine intervention is deployed. Your season of restoration and wisdom has opened. It's time to unveil what couldn't be spoken. The one who numbers the hairs on your head has heard the words you never dared to say. He knows the names you whispered when the room was empty of human voices. He has seen every time you wanted to let go but chose to rise, adjust your armor, and go on like a warrior who refuses to collapse. Not one tear of yours fell into the void. Every drop has been gathered into his hand as pearls that testify to your faithfulness. You are not required to be strong to prove your worth. You are invited to be strong because your worth has already been sealed. The cycle of hardship is not a life sentence. Some cycles are born of manipulation, of unhealthy expectations, of the voice of guilt fastening you to the chair of the accused. But heaven is issuing an order. I'm doing a new thing. The shift has begun. This is your turning point. Not a random bend, but a benchmark marked on the sacred map. Burdens that once tried to bury you, scripted narratives, roles imposed on you, emotional debts you never borrowed, are losing their power. The shackles are coming off quietly, without theatrics, but decisively. You will notice yourself breathing deeper, your shoulders lighter, your thoughts clearing like the sky after rain. This is not an illusion. This is holy order being re-established. Look again at what seemed to have fallen apart. People called it losing failure, a final full stop. But in the kingdom of the Creator, breakdown is only the phase of dismantling old structures to rebuild a divine foundation. What you thought were dead ends, he saw as lockpicks for hidden paths. Roads that once shut before you are being repurposed into sacred paths where your feet will walk without trembling. Do not be surprised when doors that once said no quietly open. It's not because you begged better, but because a new seal has been set. Do not be confused when schedules rearrange to prioritize you, not because you suddenly became important, but because you always were. And now the world is adjusting to that truth. The restoration you're entering is not a temporary patch over the cracks of your soul, it is alignment. When gears are aligned, the screeching stops, energy loss is stilled, and the engine runs with its original power. That is what's happening in you. Confusion will cool, order will take the throne. What doesn't belong to you will fall away like late-season leaves. What does belong will root deep and surge strong. He is not patching your life. He is restoring it to its original golden ratio. You will no longer strive to please foreign voices. You'll hear the rhythm of heaven beating in your chest and walk to it with the calm of one already appointed. Then peace will enter the room like a long-awaited relative needing no introduction, no proof. It's the kind of peace that does not negotiate, the kind that makes the storm kneel. You will feel a grounded calm, an anchoring where you are no longer dragged by the tides of opinions or gusts of meaningless invitations. Within you, the rushed defenses built from fear will be dismantled by hands both gentle and decisive. Places where pain once resided, the cold, dim corners of your inner house, will be lit. The inexplicable fatigue, the fog that weighed down your eyes at noon, will be replaced with a supernatural strength. Not caffeine, not cheap motivation, but a divine current flowing through your marrow. You will speak less and do right more. You will stop apologizing for your presence because you have become your own answer. Your identity, what others tried to lower, crop and distort, is being restored. Every shattered fragment isn't hidden away in a dark vault. It's being set back in place before your eyes and before those who sought to diminish you. Not to humiliate them, but to demonstrate his kindness toward you. No longer the story of quiet survival. This is the story of public restoration. The echo of this will rattle the nervous systems of those who fabricated illusions about you, and they will know. You are not a product of their commentary. You are the handiwork of the one who named you from the beginning. What was stolen, time wasted by manipulation, opportunities missed through gaslighting, peace snatched by lies, is being recompensed. This recompense doesn't run on human spreadsheets. It doesn't return just enough. It spills over. It overflows. He honors your faithfulness not merely with material gifts, but with sustaining peace, unfading hope and stability that doesn't depend on others keeping their promises. Provision will come, yet provision is not the destination. Peace is home. You will no longer live in firefighting mode, always chasing the next emergency. Instead, you'll be anchored in a sustainable rhythm where every decision flows from wisdom rather than panic. And for wisdom to blaze, your discernment is being sharpened. The border between truth and masquerade will stand clear like the horizon after the storm. The noise once disguised as wisdom will reveal its true shape, hollow and fear-stained. You'll no longer be swayed by words that sparkle but lack spirit. You'll see which eyes hold love, which offers hold bondage, which doors invite you in to steal your focus, and which doors invite you in to lift you to your appointed place. A new vision, spiritual sight, will be given to you. With it, you will slice through the fog of unnecessary opinions like a blade through air. He is also re-establishing the relationships around you. Connections that leave you drained, conversations you leave feeling smaller, will be removed. Not because you close your heart, but because you open the gate for holy order. Conversely, sacred relationships will be planted in your life. People who speak life into you, discipline you with love, and call out the true name of your destiny. At home, tensions that can't be solved by arguments will be solved by divine orchestration. Coincidental timing, accidental words that touch the very pain that needs healing. Your house will become a sanctuary. Walls that absorbed sighs will begin to echo laughter. And what used to be a prison, memories, rooms, people, will become a platform, the launch pad for your calling. Time itself is being transformed. The years that made you question your worth will be repurposed as lessons, as oil anointing your head, so you enter the new phase with a wisdom money cannot buy. The waiting has been fulfilled. Prayers that were delayed weren't denied. They were aligning to sacred timing. Now the numbers match. Heaven's clock has struck the appointment. You no longer wait like a beggar. You rise like an heir. Breathe in. Let peace travel your chest. Say amen as the signature you place upon what is unfolding. Slow your pace, clear space, set healthy boundaries to guard the sacred that's pouring in. Then walk, not as someone hoping to be chosen, but as one already appointed. You don't need permission anymore. You carry authority. This is a reconstruction of your identity. This isn't a flash that flares and fades. This is a sustained furnace. What God starts, He finishes. Let this restoration become the living testimony of His faithfulness through your breath, steps, and choices. And if your heart is beating faster because you recognize this truth, confirm it. Hit like, subscribe, and comment 777 to declare, I step into my season of restoration and wisdom. This is your divine appointment, and you have arrived. You have waited too long for miracles to exist only in books. Today, the miracle walks on feet into your own story. When heaven intervenes, it doesn't ask for a calendar slot or send a confirmation email. It enters like thunder, tearing the rain curtain, like dawn that needs no one to flip a switch. Listen to the rhythm changing in your chest. It's the drum of holy order being established. He heard the words you didn't say, the fears you didn't dare name, the memories you buried beneath polite smiles. You whispered names in the night like someone pleading to be understood, and He answered as the one who knows every turn in the maze of your heart. Every tear you kept because you feared being labeled weak has been measured on the scales of mercy. Not one drop was lost. You thought you were just trying, but heaven's record says you were fighting like a soldier on invisible fronts, and therefore reinforcements have been deployed. Don't mistake His silence for indifference. It is the focus before the breakthrough, the deep inhale before the leap across the ravine. The weary loop that devoured your days will not define you anymore. Right here, a divine update is downloading, cracking the old code. People programmed into you with lines like, you're not good enough, you're too sensitive, you ask for too much. Those lines became firewalls that throttled the flow of blessing. Now they collapse like strongholds under the gaze of the King. You'll feel a strange shift, heart-racing spikes of anxiety giving way to the steady beat of courage, empty conversations that used to drain you suddenly glaring with truth that exposes their hidden agenda. This is the turning point etched into heaven's calendar. Not someday, but now, the moment you agree and open the door. You no longer drag yourself through the day like a survivor. You walk like a steward. Emotional burdens that hung from your neck on a rope of guilt fall with a weightless thud. Others' expectations that cuffed your wrists come apart, revealing hands ready to receive. Strangely, you are still you, but the version with sand cleared from the gears, alignment restored, and a spine reclaiming its original meaning, to stand upright. The recent unraveling was not destruction, it was demolition for foundation. Every sacred build must remove rotten beams, waterlogged doubts, and bricks cracked by compromise. The dead end where you once banged your head against the wall is being opened into a hidden passage, the Red Sea, before you splits dry so your heel sets down without sinking. No miracle is irresponsible. True miracles come with order. He doesn't just swing the door open, he realigns the hinges, changes the locks, and prints your name on the plaque. Holy order means everything stands in its rightful place, as if the whole room had been cleaned on a sunny morning. Finances in a row, work with rhythm, sleep returning to its native depth, and emotions no longer manipulated by noise. You won't be pulled into crises that aren't yours. You'll learn to dispense no as a sacred right to conserve blessing. The thin fog of vagueness lifts, revealing a sharp horizon where you recognize, oh, peace has a shape, a weight, a footfall of its own. The healing you're invited to receive isn't a temporary bandage over an old wound. It's a river running through a desert, turning scorching sand into lush banks. You'll feel a peace that silences random flare-ups, a strength rising that does not need shouting. Your mind stops running 3 races at once. It focuses like a laser on today's assignment. The inner lands, once the ruins of neglected emotions, now stand with new pillars. Clean self-respect, kindness toward yourself, and healthy boundaries that apologize to no one. The inexplicable fatigue, thick haze dimming your beautiful eyes, gets driven back by a supernatural current. You no longer need to prove, you simply are. You no longer need to be chosen. You remember you were already appointed. And in the midst of it, a solemn ceremony unfolds. Your identity is reclaimed from those who presumed the right to define you. Every fragment is inlaid into a diamond, not to be hidden in the dark, but to shine in public. Those who called you too much will squint at your brilliance. They were accustomed to shade, but you belong to the sun. Holy recompense does not follow worldly formulas. People repay you because they fear law. Heaven repays you because he is faithful. He doesn't restore at a 1-to-1 ratio, but according to the generosity of his heart. Time stolen by power plays becomes the fertilizer of a fresh harvest. Opportunities dropped in boardrooms because you were too kind will be returned in settings where you are honored. The invisible losses, nights slept in fragments, meals gulped, laughter suppressed, convert into peace, enduring hope and stability, independent of whether others keep their word. Prepare for a provision that doesn't just douse today's fires, but stores oil for tomorrow's lamps. When the cup is full, it must overflow, and when it overflows, it isn't waste. It's heaven's strategy to water the dry ground around you. You are given not merely to be filled, you are given to become a source. At the same time, wisdom is unlocked like an app, pre-installed yet hidden. Your discernment sharpens. Tricks that once baffled you now appear as clumsy seams. Noise disguised as wisdom no longer has the right to sway you. You hear and distinguish what truth carries breath and what speech is puffed up by fear. You see and discern which hand reaches to lift you and which is a cleverly tied cord to pull you into exhausting loops. Spiritual sight is like a dust filter. Put it on, the sky turns instantly blue. Empty promises no longer entice you. You are drawn by truth with weight. In that clarity, your relationships naturally restructure. Energy-leaking ties exit your life like poisonous thorns drawn out. You exhale. Sacred links surface like underground streams converging. They speak life, discipline with love, and push you toward your mission. Family dinners once stiff as stone soften and warm. Reconciliation doesn't detour through debate, it follows the plan. Appointed timings, unexpected meetings, phrases landing as if pre-written. Your home returns to its rightful name. Sanctuary, the place where the soul rests. What used to be a prison becomes a launch pad. Memories that tethered you to shame become the witness stand from which you declare, I survived, and more than that, I rose. Rooms where you once cried in silence become the studio of public testimony. Names that once tightened your chest now sound like distant echoes that lost their signal. And time, the thing that always seemed half a step ahead, finally matches stride. The waiting is fulfilled. Delayed prayers weren't withheld by stinginess but crafted by architecture. His schedule doesn't make you late, it makes you precise. When the wheel falls into the groove, the ride stops shaking. It accelerates smoothly, like a song you know by heart. You step, not with hesitation, but as one who had an appointment and arrived on time. Now place your hand over your heart and acknowledge the movement underway. Inhale deeply, receive unshakable peace. Say, Amen right now as the seal on the covenant you've just read. Slow your life rhythm, clear your calendar, set healthy boundaries to guard what he's pouring in, not to push people out, but to keep what is holy within. Then walk as one under authority. No begging, no pleading, no waiting for the right conditions. The conditions have already been met in heaven. If this is lighting a fire in you, don't hoard it. Let it spread like... So the algorithm must acknowledge truth. Subscribe so this bell keeps ringing on mornings you need it. And comment 777 now to affirm, I receive intervention, restoration, and wisdom. This is not a burst of inspiration. It is structural change. And you, yes, you are the living proof. Listen up, because now we drive stakes into the ground for the new temple rising in your life. I'm chiseling on this stone foundation, truths that do not negotiate. And each truth is a hammer blow breaking old chains. Number one, they mistook your heart of gold for a doormat. They mistook your patience for weakness, your kindness for compliance. But gold doesn't turn to mud because someone steps on it. Gold, under pressure, burns brighter in the fire. You walked hallways where their laughter clinked like glass, while you held your silence like a winter night. You thought that was losing. Number, that was inner fire being refined. Psychologically, those who are underestimated often develop mental grit stronger than any loud aggressor. Spiritually, the longer the compression, the higher the launch. They regret it. They look back and realize the person they thought they could exploit has become a blade, slicing through entanglements with quiet wisdom. You are a diamond, and they have failed. Number two, they bet your wound would turn you into a cynic, but your wound turned you into a healer. Imagine a garden after a storm, broken branches, fallen leaves, muddy ground. The shallow-minded look and walk away. The sacred-sighted know the soil is richer, the seed will awaken. You have learned the language of pain so well that when it comes back, you don't panic. You listen and translate. Psychologically, your brain has rerouted old footpaths to fear, replaced by highways to solutions. Spiritually, you've learned to place your hand on the wound and call peace by name like calling an old friend. They see you smiling and don't understand why, because they can't hear the quiet conversation between you and the sky. But we know they regret it, for what they hurled to break you became the concrete forming the bridge you now cross. Number three, they confused noise with authority, while you learned the language of powerful silence. You used to be led into rooms where people wore masks of knowledge and launched jargon like fireworks to overwhelm. But you are no longer dazzled by noise masquerading as wisdom. You wield silence as a mirror. Words that touch reality take shape. Words that are hollow shatter on their own. At the mind level, you've shifted from reacting to responding. You no longer get swept up, you choose. At the soul level, you stand on rock. No voice can tilt the inner compass. And when the compass is fixed, direction reveals itself. Glitzy invitations fall off like forced, ripened fruit because they lack the gravity to pull you off your orbit. They regret it because tricks are powerless before one who has learned to hear heaven's rhythm beating in their chest. Number 4. Envy is darkness trembling before light. Jealousy never targets emptiness, it targets what glimmers. When they targeted you, it didn't declare you troublesome. It announced you carry something worth protecting. Picture a spotlight on a stone statue emerging from dust. The dust scatters wildly, not because the statue is wrong, but because light has arrived. Psychologically, jealousy mirrors an unhealed inferiority. Spiritually, it confesses that you carry what they crave. You don't need to stretch your hands defending yourself. Just keep shining. Light doesn't argue with darkness. It turns on and darkness retreats. They regret it, for instead of stepping into the light to grow, they chose to throw stones, now lying under your feet as steps. Number 5. Legacy is not written by crowd consensus. It's signed by your faithfulness to your mission. You are heaven's long-term project, not a seasonal product of human taste. They chase wins by the season. You're taught to win by generations. You don't merely get through today, you sow into the future. Strategically, a legacy-minded person frames today's choices with, does this align with who God is shaping me to become? Not will people like me for it? When the right question is set, wrong answers self-eliminate. The wonder is this: when you choose legacy, provision streams in like rivers finding the sea. The resources that were oddly delayed now, as if signaled, move in unison. They regret it, for while they traded values for momentary applause, you accrue depth, and depth always wins over time. Let me etch another image onto your heart. Your heart is a temple freshly cleansed. Outside may not look different yet, but inside, the altar is clean, torches are lit, music resounds. Holy order means flow with direction and no more leakage. You'll find yourself saying no to conversations that cast you as the savior of those who refuse to save themselves. You'll say yes to quiet pockets that seem unproductive yet pour oil to keep your lamp steady. This is the secret of the enduring. They value oil over cheering. And when night falls, it's oil that decides which lamps still burn. You will be that lamp. Now about money, work and resources, the areas people use to shallowly measure your worth. Remember, true provision doesn't come to put out fires, it comes to establish peace. You'll see unexpected streams appearing not as stray showers, but as a season. Contracts that fit your capacity, projects aligned with your mission, doors that open into rooms where you can breathe. You'll do less, go deeper, and reap more because you're no longer working off-season. Work ceases to be a battlefield to prove yourself and becomes an operations desk where you execute calling. When you align, productivity isn't extraction, it's a byproduct. And stability, what your heart has longed for, stops being a mirage. It gains form, consistent schedules, rhythmic cash flow, sleep that's unbroken, relationships that don't demand payment with your soul. Now hear me straight. You have no space left for those who require credentials from you. You already have authority. What used to be a prison A disrespectful job, a relationship that made you shrink, a habit that drained you, will become the foundation of your living sermon. You won't leave in bitterness, you will step out with the bearing of the commissioned. When you go, you don't slam doors, you close them gently to let them know their time is over. You might ask, if all this is true, why do I still feel afraid? Because fear is the final echo of the old room. When you move homes, the smell of the old paint clings to your clothes. That doesn't mean you still live there. Breathe. Let fear move through your body like wind through a room with open windows. You are not the fear. You are the one witnessing it dissipate. And now I challenge you with a small act that doubles as ceremony. Write in your heart, and if you can, write right below in the comments. I choose legacy over applause. I choose light over envy. I choose holy order over chaos. That simple act is how you countersign the document already drafted for you in heaven. When both sides sign, the covenant operates. If this is setting you ablaze, don't keep the fire. Spread it. Hit. Like so truth is amplified. Subscribe so this bell keeps ringing on the mornings you need it. And comment 777 as our passcode to open the next gate of this divine appointment. You are not just listening, you are answering. And when you answer, horizons shift. Hear this. This is the climax, the thin veil between you and destiny tearing at last. We are no longer speaking of hope as possibility. We are declaring reality as a verdict already signed. The ultimate truth is this: those who betrayed you thought they were writing the ending. In fact, they accidentally penned the opening chapter of your legacy. They mistook heaven's silence as complicity with injustice. That silence was the breath held before the thunder. And now the thunder has sounded. They will face the subtlest penalty the universe gives those who despise the sacred, soundless regret. Regret will knock at hours when no one soothes them, behind the wheel at midnight, under the bathroom light exposing a tired face, at a lively party where their eyes suddenly go distant. They will remember the words they spoke to shrink you, the texts they sent to manipulate, the opportunities they blocked. And like a film rewinding, they'll see each time they pushed you down, you rose higher. Regret won't scream, it whispers, but the whisper cuts to the bone. That is the just sentence. As the light keeps shining, darkness recognizes itself as darkness. As for you, stand tall, because this is the cash-out moment of transformation. You have stepped into a kind of power that is unmistakable, calm with gravity, gentle yet impenetrable. You no longer try to look strong. You simply are strong, like a mountain, like the ocean that knows how to embrace the shore and withdraw on beat. Your transformation isn't a personality swap. It is reclaiming ownership of yourself. The old flaws, self-doubt, approval, chasing, discounting your boundaries, have been dismantled. On the new foundation rises another structure: self-respect comforted by truth, courage lubricated by peace, discernment bright as a blade never dulled. Most importantly, your heart has changed status from petitioner to steward, from character in someone else's story to author of your own. I want you to picture a precise moment, you in front of the morning mirror, not painting for the world, not masking for fear, and you look straight into your own eyes. There you see a gaze that has walked through fire without smelling of smoke. You see the streaks of sleepless nights no longer as marks of depletion, but the glory of one who has overcome. You know, not in your head but in your bones, that you have moved house. The old rooms try to call you back with familiar echoes. Come back, it's safer here. But you smile, not bitterly, and whisper, I don't belong there anymore. The old door closes, not in resentment, but in right. When destiny lifts you, the healthy ritual is to bid the past farewell with gratitude, not with grudge. Let their regret stay where it belongs. Outside the fence of the garden you now keep. Don't use it as fuel, use wisdom as fuel. Their regret is their shadow. It is not your new metric. Your new metrics are the pulse of peace in your chest, the clarity of your vision, the depth of your roots. From here, your life strategy changes. You don't chase doors, doors recognize you. You don't chase opportunities, opportunities learn to line up. You don't strain to make people understand. You live in such a way that your truth becomes self-evident. And when truth manifests, excuses are as needless as umbrellas on a clear day. Let me place in your hand a final frame of affirmation, like a freshly polished shield. 1, you no longer answer the call of chaos. Chaos calls you by guilt and urgency. Peace calls you by purpose and order. 2, you no longer trade identity for admission to other people's rooms. If a room requires you to shrink to fit, the room is too small. 3, you won't let others price you through lenses they haven't healed. Their wounds are not the palette for your portrait. 4, you don't strain to prove you are enough. In heaven's ledger, the stamp enough was pressed before you entered the race. 5, you don't practice discipline as punishment. You practice it as worship of what is sacred within you. It's no longer a chain of musts to be accepted. It's a stream of get-tos to keep the flame alive. Now recall the faces, rooms, emails, calls that once clenched your heart. Don't resent them, reframe them, frame them as steps. Each step is worth a lesson, and lessons compound interest. The wise don't build on emotion, they build on revelation. Revelation isn't hurried, but it isn't sluggish either. It has its own tempo. You are moving on beat. So when new challenges come, and they will, because life moves, you won't panic. You'll light your lamp, check the map, and rise on tiptoe to see the path. You aren't afraid of the dark. You carry a torch. A summary of the transformation. Here is your soul's prospectus. I crossed the desert and found a river within. I weathered the storm and discovered the roof was the arms lifting me from above. I endured others' carelessness and learned to honor myself as the work of the Creator. From now on, every choice flows from the new identity. Appointed, aligned, equipped. Each morning, you enter the day like entering a temple. Wash your hands with stillness, crown yourself with peace, gird yourself with truth. Lace up readiness. You don't hunt for miracles, you carry them. You don't await perfect timing. You are the perfection of this moment because you and time have met under heaven's permission. Finally, frame their regret as an eternal, unavoidable sentence, not spoken by you, but by the law of the universe. When people sow contempt on sacred ground, they reap regret. When they leave the table of truth to chase the banquet of illusion, they reap hunger of the soul. You don't need to roll call, you don't need to report. The universe recorded it. Your task is to keep your flame burning, so your light continues to expose this truth. You have risen, and they are left with regret. Not to mock them, but to remind that all are invited, though not all accept. This is the moment you take your appointed place. Place your hand on your heart, listen to its beat syncing with a greater rhythm. Say it without tremble, without permission. I receive holy order. I live in supernatural peace. I operate in wisdom. Feel your feet on the ground carrying heaven's gravity. From this moment on, you walk not alone, but with a cloud of witnesses and promises that outlive the empires of noise. If this surges through you like current, give it a voice in real life. Like to amplify truth, subscribe for strategic weekly steps. Comment 7:7. 7 to decree. I stand on the launch pad, not returning to the prison. We're closing one loop and opening another. In this new loop, you don't find your place finds you. Now it's time to knot every thread we've woven, tying strategy tight between your heart and your hands. So from here, you don't just feel it, you live it. Listen closely. You're no longer flirting with destiny at the shoreline. You're on the dance floor, spotlight on, heaven's drums syncing with your heartbeat. Here's your marching manifesto. You walk in divine assurance, not as one begging for a chance, but as one executing authority. From now on, every morning isn't another day, it's an assignment. Wake yourself with peace's invitation. 3 minutes of silence to true the compass. Set 3 priorities from mission, not fear. Take 3 consistent actions that declare who holds the wheel. When your life is put back in place, mind settled, emotions stewarded, body honored, the new doors won't overwhelm you. They'll make you smile because they mirror the order within. If someone asks for the signs that your season of restoration and wisdom has begun, shine light on 3 layers. First, identity. You no longer ask, what do they think of me? But is this honest to who God is teaching me to become? Second, relationships. You stop chasing approval. You build launch pads for both souls. Where words are bread, truth is salt. Boundaries are a beautiful fence. Third, work and resources. You stop chasing blinking lights. You raise your own lamp and keep the oil steady. Stability stops being a wish. It becomes a rhythm. You do less but hit truer, and that very accuracy is evidence that heaven has intervened in the algorithm of your life. Carve one last cut deep. This is not hollow positivity. This is the discipline of the appointed. You craft your mornings as ritual, open with thanks, breathe deep, confess truth, read your written vision aloud in your own voice. You move through the day like a general with a map. Where it's not your mission, you bypass. Where you are assigned, you stake ground, pitch camp, and sow seed. At night, you review not to punish yourself, but to offer. How did I tend the flame? Where did I choose peace over panic? How did I speak truth in love? That's how you spin the flywheel of legacy, each lap a little oil, each day a little light. So, after a season, the valley knows a lamp was set on a hill. Now the final decree, the seal pressed into hot wax. You have risen, and they are left with regret. Not for gloating, for positioning. It reminds you that heaven's justice doesn't need you as spokesperson. The day they chose carelessness, they chose regret. The day you chose faithfulness, you chose glory. So don't look back. Let the past hold its rightful role. Teacher, not jailer. Let the present be the job site where your sweat consecrates ordinary tasks into liturgy. Let the future be the temple where you step with head high, knowing you never walk alone. Now the call to action, unshowy but sharp as a newly honed blade. Receive, inhale deeply right now and let peace pour into your chest like water filling a drained lake. Declare, say aloud so your ears can hear, Amen, I am ready. As you nod, signing the covenant you've read. Align, slow down, clear your schedule, set healthy boundaries to guard the sacred flow, because anything precious needs a frame. And step, not as one hoping to be chosen, but as one already appointed. Don't wait for another signal. The signal is lit inside you. Enter that room, make that call, write that email, book that appointment, close that door, open this one. Act as a bearer of authority because you truly bear it. I bless your feet with steadiness, your hands with skill, your eyes with vision, your back with endurance, and your heart with an unfading flame. Every step you take speaks louder than the noise. Every choice you make lays stones for those after you to walk into the light. When you keep your lamp burning, the whole street is lit. When you keep your rhythm of peace, the surrounding chaos must recede. When you keep faithfulness, legacy is written, not in black ink, but in a life lived. If this word touched you, answer heaven with simple yet decisive action. Like to amplify truth, share to a warrior who needs a torch at midnight. Subscribe so each week we add another layer of depth, and comment 777 as the sign of a countersigned covenant to confirm you have entered your season of restoration and wisdom. Write a line for yourself beneath. I walk with expectation as one already appointed. Let the algorithm and the small world around you admit a fact. The light has been switched on. You have risen, and they are left with regret. See you in the next journey where we don't just talk about calling, we operate in it with calm gravity. Keep the oil, keep the flame, keep the peace. And remember, what God starts, He finishes. The change has begun inside you right now.